Our speaker today is Donna Janesky. She has been a member of UUCJ for almost 50 years. While being an active member, Donna has enjoyed a long career in nursing, working in acute care as a head nurse and instructor, as coordinator of Methodist Hospice, as director of nursing, as vice president of clinical services in long-term care, and as a quality improvement consultant before she retired. Here at UUCJ, Donna has served as past board president and served on too many committees and projects for her to remember or for me to mention. For outreach, she has served faithfully on the board of Arlington Community Garden. Donna is our head Hungarian wise woman, a plant and chicken whisperer, and she is mistress of tofu and sauerkraut recipes for healthy living. Please welcome Donna Janesky for a review of the highlights and lowlights of Discovering Normal in 2022.
Thank you, Karen. I like the chicken whisperer one. That was pretty good. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to 2022. It's been our custom at this first service of the year to recount the events of last year and honor those who have left us and try and look a bit into what is in store for us in the year that is before us. A formidable task indeed. Does anyone feel like Bill Murray, who woke up to the same thing every day on Groundhog Day? It's been 2 years living with COVID, and I know we're all hoping that 2022 will not be the same old, same old. The stress of the coronavirus has taken its toll on Americans of all ages, with its isolation, anxiety, and uncertainty, with teens and adults and young adults especially struggling with its challenges. We are experiencing the highest levels on record right now. Let's begin with the word of the year. Dictionary.com's word is allyship, which means to advocate on behalf of marginalized groups. Oxford Dictionary is vax. Bet you can't guess what that stands for. Now, I read Pearls Before Swine a couple days ago, and they disagreed with this. They said the word of the year should be crapo. And the most used words of the year was pandemic. No surprise there. Words from last year are now a regular part of our vocabulary. Lockdown, masks, shelter in place, super spreaders, frontliners, social distancing, Zoom, and the list goes on. Now, here is some good news, and I like this. According to the Chinese horoscope, 2022, and on a positive energetic level, the new year of the water tiger 2022 symbolizes determinism, spontaneity, and novelty, and promises a year of positive changes. How about that? Your business will be stable and finances will flow smoothly throughout the year. This year is favorable for new love and relationships. However, you are advised to make savings that might be needed in the future. This is far more optimistic than last year's horoscope, which predicted many ups and downs, trials, and hardships. A glimmer of hope. Yes, we definitely have to navigate a new normal in so many aspects of our lives. Zoom was a blessing, even though it could be annoying at times. At least we got to see and talk with each other. In 2020, I had a drive-by birthday, and we held book club out in my backyard. Yes, we missed our usual rituals and gatherings, but think about all those home projects you got done. Did you do more home cooking? I know I made cookies every time I had a spare moment. You should see my freezer. We probably saved money by staying home more and working from home. I know I used much less gas in my car, which benefited my pocketbook and probably the environment. Families got closer through phone calls, walks outdoors using Zoom and FaceTime. I certainly saved money on lipstick. Why put it on when you will always be wearing a mask? By the way, Pantone's color of the year is Very Perry, P-E-R-I, a combination of periwinkle and blue. And I looked in my wardrobe trying to find something like that. This is the closest I could come. Sorry about that. What remains to be seen is how many of these new normal practices will become our normal. But looking back at 2021, there's still much work to be done. The United States had 353,000 COVID deaths in 2021. And we hit 800,000 since COVID began, and it might be more. Globally, there were 5,254,116 deaths. We experienced travel restrictions, mask and vaccine requirements, with many issues surrounding these areas, both pro and con. I do want to share that when my husband Stuart and my daughter Lisa traveled to England this fall to be with his daughter who was dying from cancer, it cost $1,000 for the required COVID testing. I do hope this does not become the new normal. Here are some highlights, good and bad. In January, Joe Biden took office as president, and we experienced our Capitol being stormed by protesters who didn't like the election results. 5 people died, with many injured. Vaccines arrived, bringing promise that a solution was in the offing. We installed Kamala Harris, the first Black person and person of Indian descent to hold the office of vice president. We called our new minister, Reverend Leanne Washington, to lead the UUCJ community. Immigration was, and probably still is, an unsolved dilemma experienced throughout the year, with 650 people dying at the border. Protests surrounded the George Floyd trial, as well as the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, a Black man jogging through a mostly white neighborhood. Random shootings and killings hit the headlines, occurring in spas, churches, supermarkets, schools, parades, everywhere. And a crowd rushed at a concert, killed 10 people and injured over 300. Roe v. Wade is being scrutinized by the Supreme Court, and some states have banned abortion after 6 weeks. We saw a condo collapse in Miami, killing 97 people. We saw chaos during the Afghanistan withdrawal and the Taliban returned to power. Civilians are now going up in space, the oldest being William Shatner at age 90. Councilman Reggie Gaffney introduced and passed a bill to make Juneteenth a paid holiday for thousands of city workers, and Councilman Tommy Hazouri died. Supply chains failed, causing shopping stampedes as well as inflation. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the first NFL team to play and win a Super Bowl in their hometown. Now, the Jags, do I need to talk about the Jags? I don't think so. Unpredictable weather caused severe outcomes throughout the world. There were heat waves in the Pacific Northwest, mega droughts in the West, as well as wildfires, tornadoes, and extreme flooding in parts of the United States and elsewhere. Temperatures will continue to rise. We all need to pay attention to this new normal as the environment is rapidly changing. We keep pushing this problem forward, but the time to create a new normal is now. Is it any wonder the song of the year is titled, "I Can't Breathe"? I'd like to read this poem by Sarah Muller titled "Field of Dreams." Tufts of white balls cover the lawn, waiting for a child to pluck them, to blow on them, to seal a wish. My camera charging, I left it at home. Tomorrow, I say, tomorrow I'll capture it. But when I am not watching, the mowers came. Yes, all we have for sure is the present. Right now, today is the oldest you've ever been, yet the youngest you'll ever be. Enjoy the day while it lasts and act while you can. Now, who are the notables that left us in 2021? And of course, this is a partial list. From the entertainment world, Cloris Leachman, Cicely Tyson, Christopher Plummer, Hal Holbrook, Jane Powell, Ed Asner, Willard Scott, Charles Grodin, Olympia Dukakis. and Betty White at age 99 just a few days ago. Stephen Sondheim, George Siegel, Mort Saul, Norm MacDonald. And from the sports world, Tommy Lasorda, Hank Aaron, and Coach John Madden. From politics and leadership, Desmond Tutu, Prince Philip, Bob Dole, Colin Powell, Harry Reid, and Walter Mondale. And lastly, TV host Larry King and conservative political commentator Rush Limbaugh. Here is more about celebrities. Times Person of the Year is Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX fame. Heroes are the vaccine scientists. Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year is Simone Biles. An entertainer is Disney singer to pop star Olivia Rodrigo. Now, the following members of and friends of our UUCJ community who have left us this past year, I will read their names. Virginia Cathy, longtime member. I remember Virginia from long ago. She died in January. She was a fun-loving person and a talented artist, always doing collages and decorating with found objects. She was a teacher and remained very sharp throughout her 91 years. Her wish is to be remembered at UUCJ, and she requested that a brick be placed in our memorial garden. Sam Klein. I always sat across the aisle from Sam. As you know, we used to have our favorite seats in the chapel, and Sam always sat right over there. He was a dedicated orthodontist and an avid sailor who designed his own catamaran, something I didn't know. He spent his last years at River Garden. Richard Connor is a Fernandina resident. He is beloved husband of Jean Connor and died at 97. He has an interesting history. He was decorated a World War II veteran. He flew in numerous missions over France, including on D-Day. The framed collection of the tags from the bombs he dropped is now on display in the museum at Utah Beach in France. He entered the Florida bar in 1956 following law school and was a real estate attorney for over 50 years. He enjoyed using his legal skills to help others, and he and Jean enjoyed cruising the world. Greg Hines, our gentle giant who left us much too early. We're sad to report that Greg Hines passed away at his home on March 25th, 2021. He died of heart failure and had been dealing with his condition for some time. Greg had been a very active member at UUCJ for many years as a member of the board, denominational affairs, CUPS, Sunday Coffee, Violino Spring Retreat, and Summer Regional Conference, SUSE, General Assembly. He was a true youre. I have a most wonderful picture of Greg dressed in an elf hat for Christmas, serving coffee at social hour. Will Simpson passed away at the age of 101. Will Simpson attended our wedding back in 1986. He fought in World War II and was wounded, awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze Star for bravery. He worked as an artist, a writer, a publisher, and met and married his wife, Nantana, in Thailand while working for UNESCO. Genevieve Deloach from Atlantic Beach died at age 104. She owned a fabric store and got her bachelor's degree at age 64. She loved travel and had been to many countries, including Greece, Turkey, Guatemala, and Australia. Now, this last one is tough. Flori Auditori. It's with a heavy heart that I report the loss of this dear friend and member of UUCJ. I will repeat this message. Our family is devastated, and we know many of Flori's friends will miss her energy, opinions, fairness, strength, empathy, encouragement, and intellect. And who hasn't been to the Christmas Day gathering at the auditories that Flori and Joe so graciously hosted every Christmas? Flori, you will be missed in so many ways by so many people. I do want to share an excerpt from an obituary I read recently. It was about Mary Johnson, and she often quoted, "Life should not be a journey to the grave. with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, wine in hand in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and proudly exclaiming, "Wow, what a ride." And now for some good news. Kim and Darlene Larson welcomed a great-grandchild, Juniper Singletary, in January. Steve Settle and Nancy Murray Settle became grandparents to Neely Scott in February. Lois Haft welcomed her great-grandchild, Raphael Oliveras, in August, and Cece and Ken said hello to their first grandchild, Bjorn, in December. Lynn and Brian Paradise are now first-time grandparents. Their son and daughter-in-law had a baby boy, Ezra, born on September 10th, and they live in Massachusetts. And Lynn and Brian are planning many trips up there to help with the childcare. Now let's hope all these little kids grow up to be terrific UUs. With approximately 1 million people in the United States who have died from COVID, we are a nation of grieving families and friends left behind. The pandemic has certainly changed the way we grieve. Tried and true rituals which provided comfort are no longer there for us. Ceremonies are time limited with no hugging or touching, physical spacing required. Grief from the loss of a loved one is not the only grief experienced. Though the degrees of grief differ, it can be from a job loss, financial, loss of familial and social interaction, loss of freedom taken for granted, loss of mental and physical health due to stress and anxiety. Grief comes in many shapes and sizes. We are often awkward and sometimes inappropriate when confronted with what to say and how to help the grieved individual. I recently read a book titled, "It's Okay That You're Not Okay" by Megan Devine, and she gives us these suggestions. Be willing to stand beside the gaping hole that has opened in your friend's life without flinching or turning away. Your steadiness and presence is the absolute best thing you can give. Do ask questions. You can connect by showing curiosity about their experience. Don't fact check or correct, especially in early grief. Facts and timelines can be confused. Do respect their experience, even if you think their grief is out of proportion to the situation. I'll never forget when someone said to me, "Just get over it." It hurt me to the core. Don't minimize, even if you think their grief is out of proportion. I already said that. Do remember, this grief is theirs. Grief belongs to the griever. Your opinions are irrelevant. Don't give compliments. When someone is in pain, they don't need to be reminded of how wonderful they are. Do trust your friend. All the things you love about this person will help them through the experience. Don't be a cheerleader. When things are dark, it's okay to be dark. And do mirror their reality. When they say, "This sucks," say, "Yes, it does." Don't talk about later. Right now, in this present moment, that future is irrelevant. Do stay in the present moment. Or if the person is talking about the past, join them there. Don't evangelize. When something has worked for you, it's tempting to prescribe it for others. So show up, listen, don't fix it. When someone you love dies, it's not something you get over. The loss now becomes a part of who you are. What we once enjoyed and deeply loved, we can never lose, for all that we love deeply becomes a part of us. From Helen Keller. In spiritual studies a few months ago, our topic had to do with death, and I shared an essay I wrote when working on my degree for an English professor who wanted us to write something descriptive. I was working in hospice at the time, so I described the process of death the family witnesses in the last hours of life. I did get an A+, as well as remarks from my astonished professor who called me up to the desk and said, did you write this? But I'd like to share the response of James Bull. I did read this essay for my spiritual studies class, and many of them encouraged me. They wanted me to read it here, but I thought, no, it's a bit too vivid. But here is a response from James Bull, who was a participant on that day. And I quote, "From the moment of our birth, we seek our death, yet we search for some version of immortality. I believe that growth is the only way out, conscious choice, self-love, and understanding by truly believing we can choose a new form and direction that lies ahead for us. The universe needs us to choose. Then it will prepare the possibilities or eventualities of the afterlife," unquote. And lastly, here is a poem from our resident scholar, Sharon Scholl. Sitting. What else can we do with grief besides sit with the emptiness? Feel the turbid cloud of loss enfold us and shroud these frozen moments. We smother in the sullen tide of what should have been, swim against the certainty of what will be. We can offer little more than presence, the will to sit, endure the unbearable absence. Grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness, not a lack of faith. It is the price of love. So let us bring honesty, respect, teamwork, joy, and most of all, love with us into 2022 as we build our church, our homes, our cities, our country for a bright and healthy future. And now let us follow our custom to read the names of those who were homeless and died in Jacksonville in 2021. We read the names, and please, we want you to read the names along with us. And those of you at home, please read them out loud as you see them. Crystal is shaking her head. No, they can't do that. Okay, Karen and I will read the names, but hold them in your heart. Scott Anderson,
Charles Brand,
Irving Bocage,
Jay Bowles,
Carlin Jasky,
Jerry Davis,
Robert Francis,
Jerome Francesco,
Nate Glasser,
Alexander Henry,
David Howell III,
Robert Hardin,
Herman Hargrove,
Aaron Jones,
Dean Haynes,
Sanford Hill. Where are we on? I'm on.
Leela Mae James,
Lily Kirksey,
Jeffrey Cole,
Robert Kratzer,
Dan Lowe,
Alice Lumley,
Anthony Marlowe,
Paul Martinez,
Herman Partner,
Stephen Ridgway,
Paul Robinson,
Frank Schotter,
Nicole Sauls,
Devin Smith,
Nettie Sumler,
Jonathan Tokar,
Beth White,
Jeannie Williams,
Charissa Jengebi. And now Karen will light a candle in remembrance of all those who were homeless and perhaps died alone and without comfort. So hold them in your heart.